For 9 summers, my parents packed my suitcase, drove me to my aunt's house, and told me the same lie. Your brother needs some special time with us. Then they would leave without me and take him on a family vacation. But when I finally discovered why they had really been sending me away, I didn't cry. I opened an old box in my aunt's attic and found proof that my entire childhood had been edited to make room for my brother. And the worst part, my parents had no idea I knew. My name is Emma. I was 24 when I finally understood what those summers had taken from me. Growing up, my family looked normal from the outside. My dad, Richard, worked as an accountant. My mom, Laura, taught at a local elementary school, and my younger brother, Noah, was the kind of kid everyone noticed. He was funny, loud, charming. I was quiet. Not unhappy, not difficult. Just quiet. When I was 7, my parents told me I would be spending the summer with my aunt, Diane. I remember standing beside the front door with a purple suitcase. My mom hugged me and said, "You're going to have so much fun." "Are you coming too?" I asked. She looked at my dad. Then she smiled. "No, sweetheart, this is your special summer with Aunt Diane." I believed her. I loved my aunt. She lived in a small house near a lake. She baked cinnamon bread and let me stay up late watching old movies. But 3 days after I arrived, my dad called. "Guess where we are," he said. "Where?" "Disney World." I froze. "You said I was having a special summer." "You are," he replied quickly. "Aunt Diane is taking great care of you." Then I heard Noah screaming in the background. "Dad, tell Emma about the castle." That was the first family vacation I missed. The next summer, they went to California. The summer after that, they went on a cruise. Every year, I was sent to Aunt Diane. Every year, my parents called it special time. And every year, my brother came home with pictures. There was Noah at the beach. Noah at an amusement park. Noah standing between my parents, in front of famous landmarks. And there was always one thing missing. Me. At first, I thought it was because I was older. Then I thought maybe I was too quiet. Then I started wondering if my parents simply loved him more. But whenever I asked, they gave me the same answer. "Don't be jealous, Emma." "I'm not jealous," I would say. "You have Aunt Diane all to yourself." That sentence followed me for years. You have Aunt Diane all to yourself. As if being sent away was a gift. When I was 12, I stopped pretending I didn't care. That summer, my parents were taking Noah to Hawaii. I found the travel brochures on the kitchen table. There were 4 tickets. 4. I stared at them for several seconds. Then I picked one up. My name wasn't on it. I walked into the living room. "Mom." She looked up from folding clothes. "Why are there 4 tickets?" Her hand stopped moving. 4. One for you, one for Dad, one for Noah, and one for... I looked down. Who is the 4th person? My mother slowly took the ticket from me. "That's not important." "It is to me." She sighed. "Emma, don't start." "Who is going?" "No one." "Then why is there another ticket?" My dad walked in. "What's going on?" "Emma is making a big deal out of the vacation," my mom said. "I just want to know who the 4th ticket is for." My dad looked at the ticket. Then he said something I never forgot. "It was supposed to be for you." My heart jumped. But Noah asked if he could bring his best friend. I waited. I expected my dad to say no. Instead, he shrugged. He doesn't get many chances to travel with friends. I stared at him. And I don't get any chances to travel at all. That's different. How? Because you have Aunt Diane. I felt my face burn. I don't want Aunt Diane, I want my family. The room went silent. Then my mother said, "You're being selfish." Selfish? That word hurt more than the vacation. I went upstairs and locked my door. That night, I heard my parents talking. My mother said, "She's becoming difficult." My dad replied, "She'll understand when she's older." But I didn't understand. Not then. And not for many years. The summers continued. 9 years. 9 suitcases. 9 goodbyes. By the time I was 16, I stopped asking to go with them. I stopped looking at the photos. I stopped waiting for souvenirs. I told myself I didn't care. But I did. One summer, my parents came to pick me up from Aunt Diane's house. Noah ran toward me. "Guess what?" he shouted. "What?" "We went to Italy." "Cool." "We saw Rome, Venice, everything." "That's nice." He pulled out his phone. "Look at this picture." It was my parents and Noah standing in front of the Colosseum. My dad had his arm around him. My mom was smiling. They looked happy. Complete. Then Noah laughed. "You know what Mom said?" I didn't answer. "She said the trip was so peaceful without you." I looked at my mother. She turned pale. "Noah," she said sharply. "What? You said it." I didn't mean it like that. But she had. And everyone knew it. I got into the car without saying another word. For the entire drive home, no one spoke. That night, I packed a small bag. I planned to leave. I didn't know where I would go. I just knew I didn't want to stay in a house where my absence made people feel peaceful. But before I could leave, Aunt Diane called. "Emma, did you forget something?" "No." "Yes, you did." "What?" "Your blue sweater." "I don't care about it." There was a pause. Then she said quietly, "Come back tomorrow. I want to show you something." Her voice sounded strange. "Serious?" Almost scared. The next morning, I returned to Aunt Diane's house. She didn't mention the sweater. Instead, she took me upstairs. Her attic was dusty and filled with old boxes. She walked to a wooden chest and opened it. Inside were folders, photos, letters, and a small video camera. "What is this?" I asked. She sat down slowly. "Your childhood." I laughed. "That sounds creepy." "I wish it were." She handed me a folder. On the front, written in my mother's handwriting, were the words, "Emma, summer plans." I opened it. Inside were copies of emails. The first one was from my mother to Aunt Diane. It said, "Thank you for taking Emma again. Richard thinks it's better if she stays with you. Noah gets anxious when she's around during trips." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Aunt Diane looked away. "Keep reading." The next email said, "Emma asks too many questions. She notices everything. We don't want her ruining Noah's vacation." My hands started shaking. Then I found another message. This one was from my dad. "Diane, please don't tell Emma about the therapist. We don't want her thinking Noah is the reason she's being sent away." I looked up. "What therapist?" My aunt closed her eyes. "Your brother was seeing a child psychologist." "Why?" "Because Noah had severe anxiety." I stared at her. "But he was always happy." "He was happy when things went his way." She reached for an old photograph. It showed Noah when he was 6. He was crying. My mother was holding him. And I was standing beside them. The picture had been cut. Half of my body was missing. "What happened?" I whispered. Aunt Diane looked at me. "Your brother became obsessed with being the only child during vacations." I laughed once. It sounded empty. "That's ridiculous." "It was, but your parents didn't know how to handle him. So they sent me away." "Yes." "For 9 years." "Yes." "Because Noah didn't want me there." Aunt Diane shook her head. "No, not only because of Noah." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" She pointed to another letter. This one had been written by my mother. "Emma reminds Richard of his sister. Every time Emma argues with Noah, Richard loses control. It's easier if Emma stays away." I read it twice. Then a third time. My father had a sister. Her name was Claire. She had died before I was born. No one ever talked about her. I looked at Aunt Diane. "What does Dad's sister have to do with me?" My aunt's eyes filled with tears. "Everything." Aunt Diane told me the truth. My father and his sister had been close. But when they were teenagers, they fought constantly. One summer, their parents took them on a road trip. During the trip, they had a terrible argument. My father said something cruel. Claire ran away from the family cabin. Later that night, she was killed in a car accident. My father blamed himself. For years, he refused to talk about her. Then I was born. And according to Aunt Diane, I looked exactly like Claire. Same eyes. Same quiet personality. Same habit of noticing when people were lying. Every time I fought with Noah, my father remembered his sister. Every time I questioned my parents, he became angry. Not because I was wrong. Because I reminded him of someone he had lost. So he punished me for looking like her, I asked. No, Aunt Diane said. He avoided you because he was afraid. That's the same thing. She didn't argue. I opened another folder. There were messages between my parents. One from my father said, I can't relax when Emma is there. She looks at me like Claire used to. Another said, maybe Diane can keep her until school starts. I felt sick. All those years, I thought I was unwanted because I was boring. Because I was jealous. Because I wasn't fun. But the truth was worse. My parents had turned me into a problem they didn't want to face. And they had blamed my brother, because blaming a child was easier than admitting their own guilt. Then Aunt Diane handed me the video camera. There's something else. What? I recorded your parents the summer you were 14. Why? Because I knew you would need proof someday. I watched the video that night. The screen was blurry. My parents were sitting at Aunt Diane's kitchen table. My father looked tired. My mother looked angry. My aunt asked, how long are you going to keep doing this? My dad said, until Emma understands. Understands what? That she can't always get what she wants. Aunt Diane replied, she wants to be included. My mother crossed her arms. Every vacation becomes about Emma's feelings. Because you leave her behind. No one needs us. And Emma does. My father slammed his hand on the table. Emma is strong. The room went silent. Then Aunt Diane said something that changed everything. No, Emma is quiet. You keep confusing quiet with strong because it makes abandoning her easier. My father stared at the floor. My mother began crying. And then my father whispered, I don't know how to be around her. That was it. No excuse. No secret illness. No complicated reason. My father didn't know how to love me without remembering his sister. So he chose not to try. I watched the video 3 times. Then I made a decision. 2 weeks later, my parents invited the family over for dinner. They wanted to celebrate Noah's college graduation. Everyone was there. My grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. My parents sat beside Noah, smiling proudly. My mother stood up. We're so proud of the family we've built. That was when I stood. I'd like to say something too. My mother smiled. Of course. I connected my phone to the television. Then I played the video. At first, no one understood. Then my father's voice filled the room. I can't relax when Emma is there. My mother's face went white. My father stood. Turn that off. I didn't. Everyone watched. They heard my aunt say, she wants to be included. They heard my father say, Emma is strong. Then they heard Aunt Diane answer, you keep confusing quiet with strong because it makes abandoning her easier. The room was silent. Noah looked at me. What is this? I turned to him. The reason I spent every summer at Aunt Diane's. He shook his head. I thought you wanted to go. No, you were told that. He looked at our parents. Is this true? My mother started crying. Things were complicated. For 9 years, I asked. My father stepped toward me. Emma, I made mistakes. Mistakes happen once. I pointed at the screen. This was a decision you repeated every summer. He had no answer. Then Noah stood. His voice shook. You told me Emma didn't like traveling. I know, my mother whispered. You told me she was happier with Aunt Diane. I thought. No, he said, you wanted me to believe that. For the first time in my life, my brother looked at me with guilt. Real guilt. I'm sorry, he said. I nodded. I know you didn't know. But my parents did. That was the difference. After that night, everything changed. My father called me every week. At first, I didn't answer. Then I finally agreed to meet him. He cried. He apologized. He told me about Claire. He admitted that every time he looked at me, he remembered the last words he said to her. He said he was ashamed. I believed him. But forgiveness didn't come quickly. My mother apologized too. She admitted she had chosen peace over fairness. She said sending me away was easier than dealing with the conflict. I told her something she never forgot. You didn't choose peace, you chose silence, and I was the one who paid for it. A year later, my parents planned another family vacation. They asked me to come. I said no. Not because I hated them. Because I had already made plans. I was taking Aunt Diane on a trip. Just the two of us. She had spent 9 summers making sure I never felt completely unwanted. Now it was my turn to give something back. Before we left, my father handed me an envelope. Inside was every photograph from those vacations. The originals. He had written one sentence on the back of each picture. Emma should have been here. I kept them, not because I wanted to remember what I missed, but because I wanted proof that the truth had finally been spoken. As for Noah, we became closer. He stopped defending our parents. He stopped calling those trips family vacations. He called them what they were. Vacations where his sister was excluded. And my parents, they finally understood something they should have known years earlier. Sending a child away doesn't make a family peaceful. It only teaches that child to survive without one. For 9 summers, they told me I was lucky because I had Aunt Diane all to myself. But years later, I realized something. They were right about one thing. I was lucky because Aunt Diane loved me when my parents chose not to understand me. And when the truth finally came out, I didn't need revenge. Their punishment was sitting in that room, surrounded by the people they had lied to, and realizing that the daughter they kept sending away was the only person who had been strong enough to bring the family's truth home. And for the first time in my life, no one asked me to leave.